Look at your hand right now. Seriously, lift your hand and look at it. Move your fingers, clench your fist. It seems like something mundane, right? You do it every day. But think about this. This structure, this opposable thumb, this skin without thick hair, this ability to hold a phone or a mouse, this is a biological accident of astronomical proportions. We live our lives thinking we are the final product, nature's masterpiece, that everything that happened in the last 4 billion years was designed to get here, to you, watching a video on the internet. But that is the most comfortable lie we tell ourselves. The truth is much more disturbing. Human evolution is not a straight, beautiful line going from a hunched ape to a man in a suit holding a briefcase. That's a cartoon. Reality is a twisted family tree, full of broken branches, dead ends, and massacres. We are not the chosen ones. We are the survivors. And the question no one likes to ask, but that keeps pounding in the back of the brain when we stop to think about it, is, why us? Why, of all the hominid species that walked, fought, and bled on this planet, are we the only ones left? Think about the silence. The world today is silent. There is only one human voice speaking, ours. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time, not long ago in geological terms, when the Earth felt like a crowded bar. You had Homo erectus in Asia, Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in the caves of Siberia, Homo floresiensis, those tiny hobbits on the islands of Indonesia. We lived with them. We looked into their eyes. They were human, but they weren't us. They had culture, they felt fear, they felt cold. And now, they are all dead. Dust covered their bones, and we built cities on top of them. Did we kill them? Was it the climate? Or do we carry in our DNA something, a flaw or an advantage, that made us the perfect storm that swept our cousins off the map? It's uncomfortable to think about. It's uncomfortable to look in the mirror and see not the image of God, but the image of an apex predator that got lucky. Very lucky. And there's something else that keeps me awake. Speed. If you take the history of the Earth and compress it into 24 hours, modern humans appeared in the last seconds before midnight. During millions of years, our ancestors hit stone against stone, and nothing changed. The progress was slow, almost non-existent, 1,000,000 years making the same hand axe. And suddenly, boom, art, music, religion, space travel, atomic bomb. What happened? What changed in the software or hardware of our heads that caused this insane explosion? Some say it was fire, others say it was hallucinogenic mushrooms, others talk about random genetic mutations. We are now entering a gray area. Forget what you were taught in school about evolution being slow and gradual. Sometimes it is violent and sudden. We are going to look at the flaws in our history, at the pieces that don't fit the puzzle. Because if evolution is real, and the evidence screams that it is, it hasn't stopped. It is still happening. And if it's still happening, where are we going? Are we the final version, or are we just the draft of something that will replace us, just as we replaced the Neanderthals? Feel the weight of that. You're not an external observer of history. You are the provisional result of a brutal process of elimination. And the story I'm going to tell you today isn't about old bones in museums. It's about the flesh, the blood, and the madness that run through your veins right now. It's about understanding if we are the heroes of this story or the villains who were left to tell it. Let's rewind the tape. But not just a little. Let's go back to a critical moment. Imagine Africa about 70,000 years ago. The scenery isn't pretty. Drought, dust, predators larger and faster than us in every bush. And us? We, Homo sapiens, were on the brink of extinction. Genetic studies indicate that at that time, the human population may have dropped to somewhere around 1,000 or 10,000 breeding individuals. Think about that. 10,000 people. That's fewer people than fit in a second division football stadium. All of humanity, all of our future, all the symphonies, wars, loves, and discoveries, all of that was contained in a group of frightened people, trying not to starve or become a leopard's lunch. What caused this? The most accepted theory, and also the most terrifying, is the Toba Catastrophe, a supervolcano in Indonesia that exploded with such violence that it blocked the sun for years. The world cooled, plants died, animals died, and we almost went with them. It was a genetic bottleneck. This means we are all descendants of these few survivors. That's why human DNA is so similar, no matter if you're from Norway or Namibia. We are very close cousins, children of the same disaster. But you know what's crazy? It was precisely at this moment of extreme pressure that we changed. It seems that when the water reaches the neck, humans find a way to swim. Before this bottleneck, we were smart, but not that much. After this period, we started to see complex behaviors exploding, more sophisticated tools, exchange networks, symbols. The selective pressure was brutal. Those who were slow died. Those who couldn't cooperate died. Those who lacked imagination to foresee danger died. Only the paranoid, the creative, and the sociable survived. We are children of paranoia and cooperation. This overturns that romantic idea that nature is a gentle mother. Nature is a merciless sieve, and we pass through the narrowest hole of that sieve. Now compare this with the standard narrative. Usually we hear, oh, the brain grew and we became intelligent. But why did it grow? A big brain is expensive. We'll talk about that in a bit, but understand that in nature, nothing is free. If you gain intelligence, you lose strength, you lose speed, you lose instinct. We traded claws and teeth for neurons. It was a risky bet. It could have gone very wrong. For many of our cousins, it did go wrong. Homo erectus, for example. The guy was a survival machine. He lasted almost 2 million years. We've been here for what? 300,000. Not even that, if you count modern behavior. Erectus saw empires of ice born and die. He mastered fire. He left Africa long before us, but he stagnated. He found a niche and stayed there. Not us. We are restless. We have this genetic itch that won't let us stay still. Is this evolution, or is it a pathology? This restlessness led us to leave Africa and find the world. And what did we find? Other humans. This is the point that fascinates me most. Imagine you walking through a forest in Europe 45,000 years ago, and you come across a group of Neanderthals. They are not monsters. They wear clothes, have spears, care for the wounded. But they are different. The face is wide, the nose is large to warm the cold air, the body is a war tank, stocky and strong, much stronger than you. If you got into a fight with a Neanderthal, you lost, no doubt. But we won the war in the long run. How? It wasn't through brute force. It was through communication. We could talk about things that weren't there. We could plan a coordinated attack with 100 people who didn't even know each other well, united by a belief or an abstract goal. The Neanderthal operated in the here and now. We operated in the what if. This ability to imagine possible futures was our most lethal weapon, and also our curse, because it's what gives us anxiety to this day. We live suffering for things that haven't even happened yet. If this abyss has held you until now, the like is the sign that it was worth going so deep. Subscribe to the channel. There are still many sunken cities waiting to be told. Think about this. The anxiety you feel on Sunday night before work is the same mechanism that saved your ancestor from being eaten by a lion. It's the ability to predict bad scenarios. Evolution doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to survive and pass your genes on. Happiness is irrelevant to natural selection. Survival and reproduction are everything. If to survive, you need to be a well of neurosis and constant alert. Evolution will select the neurotics. And here we are, the most anxious species on the planet, dominating everything. Now let's get down to the physical. Let's talk about the body. Because we have this habit of focusing only on the brain, but our body is a complete bizarreness. Think about the act of standing up, bipedalism. Who was the genius who thought that was a good idea? Seriously, look at your dog, look at a horse. 4 legs, stability, speed, weight distribution. Then comes the human ancestor and decides, I'm going to walk on only 2. The result? Back pain, herniated disc, varicose veins, knees that blow out. Human childbirth is one of the most dangerous and painful in the animal kingdom. Why? Because to walk upright, our pelvis had to narrow, but at the same time our brain was growing, which means larger heads. Narrow pelvis plus big head equals a very serious engineering problem. Mother died, child died. Evolution's solution was to make us be born premature. Compared to other mammals, every human baby is born half-ready. A foal is born and starts walking in hours. A human baby is a useless paperweight for a year. It does nothing, it just screams and eats. This created an absurd social dependency. The mother couldn't take care of it alone. She needed the father, the grandmother, the tribe. This forced the creation of social bonds. Our individual physical weakness forced our collective strength. We had to learn to love and care so as not to extinguish the species. But why stand up after all? There's the savanna theory, of course. Everything got dry, the trees disappeared, we had to walk in the tall grass to see predators. It makes sense, but some people find holes in that theory. Standing up exposes you more. You become a visible target. There's the theory that we stood up to carry things, food, children, weapons. Freeing the hands was the great revolution. A hand that doesn't need to walk is a hand that can throw a stone, or make a spear, or paint a wall. And the hands, look at them again. The sensitivity at the tips of your fingers is ridiculously high. You can feel the difference in texture of a strand of hair. What for? To pick lice? To find ripe fruit? Or to manufacture precision tools? It's a feedback loop. The hand makes the tool. The tool ensures better food. Better food grows the brain. The brain invents better tools. But there's a theory that's controversial. Scientists turn their noses up at it, but it won't die. The aquatic ape theory. The idea that we spent some time at the water's edge, collecting shellfish, swimming. This would explain why we are the only primates that hold their breath voluntarily, why we have this layer of subcutaneous fat, like seals, why we lost our hair, friction in water, and why we walk upright, to keep our heads out of the water. Is it likely not true? Yes, but it's fascinating because it shows how much we still grope in the dark about our own origin. We have pieces of the puzzle, but we lost the image on the box. The fact is, our body is a map of our evolutionary scars. The hiccup? It's a remnant from when our ancestors were amphibians, breathing through gills. The goosebumps when you feel cold or fear. It's your body trying to raise hair you no longer have to look bigger or warm up. We are a walking museum of obsolete parts. The wisdom tooth, the appendix, the tailbone. This proves we weren't designed by a perfectionist architect. We were patched up by a jury-rigging mechanic called natural selection. What worked, stayed. What killed, left. It didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be good enough for you to live until you had children. And that's liberating in a way. You don't have to be perfect. Nature never was. We talked about the body. Now we need to talk about the engine. The brain. This pound-and-a-half piece of jelly inside your skull is the most expensive thing you own, metabolically speaking. It represents about 2% of your weight, but consumes 20% to 25% of all the energy you ingest. It's absurd. It's like having an economy car with a Ferrari engine. It drinks gasoline like crazy. How did a primate on the savannah, eating roots and sour fruit, manage to afford this energy cost? The math doesn't add up. If you eat only salad all day, you have to spend the whole day eating. Gorillas do that. They chew all day long. There's no time left to invent the wheel or for philosophy. To have a brain this size, we needed premium fuel. The most likely answer? Meat and fire. Cooking. This is the cooking ape hypothesis. Think about it. Cooking is doing digestion outside the body. Fire breaks down fibers, gelatinizes starch, kills bacteria. You eat and absorb calories much faster. The intestine shrank because it didn't have to work so hard, and the excess energy went straight to the brain. Fire freed us from eternal chewing. Fire gave us time. Sitting around the campfire at night also changed everything. The light of the fire extended the day. It drove away the monsters. There, in the circle of light, we began to tell stories, to gossip, to create myths. Human culture was born in the ashes of these first fires. It was there that we stopped being just animals reacting to the environment and became creators of worlds. But there's a dark side to this. To eat meat, we had to become killers. It's not pretty, but it's real. Our ancestors stopped being prey and became hunters, and not just any hunter, persistence hunters. We don't run fast, but we run far. We have sweat glands. We sweat. The antelope doesn't. It runs explosively but overheats. The human runs slowly but doesn't stop. We chased the prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We killed by fatigue. It's a terrifying form of predation, the monster that never stops coming after you. This change in diet changed our psychology. Hunting requires cooperation, silence, reading signals. It requires empathy. Ironically, you need to put yourself in the prey's place to know where it will flee. Empathy was born, in part, from the need to kill better. It's paradoxical, right? Our noblest qualities and our most violent instincts are intertwined in the same evolutionary route. And there's another theory, more out there but worth mentioning. The stoned ape theory. The idea that accidental consumption of psilocybin mushrooms on the savannah may have stimulated neurogenesis and brain connectivity, helping in the development of language and abstract thought. Is it proven? No. But it explains our incessant search for altering consciousness. Since the world began, humans have sought ways to escape reality. Alcohol, plants, trance rituals. It seems that raw reality was never enough for our turbocharged brain. Whether it was cooked meat or magic mushrooms, the fact is that the brain exploded in size in record time. And this created a problem. A large brain is capable of creating incredible tools, but it's also capable of creating illusions, lies, and traumas. We gained the ability to understand the universe, but the price was the loss of the peace of mind that a simple animal has. Your cat doesn't have an existential crisis. You do. This is the cost of the entry ticket to humanity. We've already touched on the subject, but now let's focus on them, the others. The loneliness of our species is a recent anomaly. During most of our existence, Earth was the planet of the apes in real life, several versions of humans walking around. The most famous encounter was with the Neanderthals. And here, the story gets complicated. For a long time, we painted the Neanderthal as a brute, stupid, walking around dragging a club and going, ugh, ugh. That's winner's propaganda. Modern science shows something else. They had larger brains than ours. They made jewelry. They buried the dead with flowers, which suggests religious or affective thought. They cared for the elderly, who could no longer walk or chew. They had humanity. So, what happened when sapiens left Africa and entered Europe, their territory? Was there war? Probably. We are territorial and violent, but was there also love, or at least sex? Today we know that most people outside Africa have 1% to 4% Neanderthal DNA. This means there was interbreeding. We didn't just kill them, we slept with them. We absorbed part of them. If you have light skin, straight hair, or certain tendencies to allergies, you can thank or blame your Neanderthal ancestor. But why did they disappear as a distinct entity? One theory is subtle competitiveness. We didn't need to massacre them all in an epic battle. It was enough for us to be 2% more efficient at hunting, or have a slightly higher birth rate. Over 1,000 years, this small mathematical advantage would make their population shrink until it disappeared. It's the silent extinction. They were pushed to the margins, to the highest mountains, to the places where food was scarce, until the last Neanderthal died alone in a cave, looking at a moon that now belonged to us. That gives me a chill. Imagine being the last of your species, trying to call out and no one answering. The extinction of the Neanderthals is one of the great prehistoric traumas, and it wasn't just them. The Denisovans in Asia, Homo floresiensis, Homo luzonensis. We swept away the competition. This raises a heavy moral question. Are we genocidal by nature? Our tolerance for the other is historically very low. If we already kill each other over skin color or religion, imagine what we would do if we met a different species of human today. Would we put them in zoos, give them civil rights, do experiments? The presence of these ghosts in our DNA is a reminder that we are not pure. We are mixed. We are a patchwork of extinct species. And maybe, just maybe, we survived not because we were the best, but because we were the most adaptable and the most ruthless. Kindness is not a characteristic that the fossil record often rewards. Looking at a Neanderthal skull is not looking at an animal. It's looking at a distorted mirror. It's seeing what we could have been if things had been a little different. They were strong, adapted to the cold, resilient. But something was missing. Maybe the madness was missing. That insane glint in the eye that makes sapiens cross an ocean in a wooden canoe without knowing what's on the other side. The Neanderthals saw the sea and saw a barrier. The sapiens saw the sea and saw a road. This suicidal curiosity is our trademark. This suicidal curiosity leads us to what historians call the cognitive revolution. About 70,000 years ago, something clicked. Before that, we made tools. After that, we started making art. And art is a very strange thing, because it serves no purpose, physically speaking. A painting on a cave wall doesn't kill a bison. A bone flute doesn't protect you from the rain. So why waste time and energy on it? Because art is the reality simulation software. It's the capacity for abstraction. And the greatest invention of that time wasn't the bow and arrow, it was fiction. The lie. The ability to talk about things that don't physically exist. The lion spirit protects our tribe. No one has ever seen the lion spirit. You can't touch it. But if I believe and you believe, we cooperate. We form a tribe of 1,000 people based on an idea. Chimpanzees don't do that. A chimpanzee will never give you his banana in exchange for the promise that he will have infinite bananas in monkey heaven after he dies. He only understands the real banana. We understand the promised banana. This is the basis of money, religion, nations, laws, human rights. All of these are shared fictions. Painted paper worth food? No. But we pretend it is, and because everyone pretends together, society works. This was the turning point. We created a second-layer reality. There's physical reality, rivers, trees, lions, and imagined reality, gods, money, corporations. And imagined reality became more powerful than physical reality. Today, we destroy physical reality, forests, to accumulate imagined reality, numbers in a bank account. This is human evolution in its most bizarre form. Language also changed. It was no longer just, "Watch out, lion." It was, "This morning, near the river, I saw something that looked like a lion, but I think it was a spirit, and it told me that." Gossip, social complexity. Our brain evolved to deal with the complexity of who is sleeping with whom, who is trustworthy, who is a traitor. Social intelligence was the great engine, and this leads us to an interesting point about truth. Our brain didn't evolve to see the truth. It evolved to see the useful. If believing that a noise in the bushes is a ghost makes you run and not be eaten by a jaguar, evolution will select the belief in the ghost, even if it's a lie. We are programmed to see patterns where they don't exist. Faces in the clouds, conspiracies in chance. Our mind is a machine for creating meaning, even if the meaning is invented. That's why it's so hard to be skeptical, to be scientific. Science is anti-natural. The natural is myth. The natural is story. We love stories. You are here listening to a story. If I were just listing genetic data, you would have already closed the video. Narrative is how the human brain organizes the chaos of the universe. So when we ask, is evolution real? The scientific answer is yes. But the human answer is, it depends on the story you want to tell. We chose to tell the story of progress, of the climb to the top. But we could tell the story of destruction, of the loss of connection with nature, of domestication. Because deep down, we domesticated ourselves. We became the wolf that became a dog. We became tamer within the group, more childish, more dependent. Civilization is a self-managed zoo. But do we really know everything? And those things that don't fit, forbidden archaeology, parts, out-of-place artifacts, let's take it easy here. The internet loves to say it was aliens. Oh, the pyramids, impossible to cut those stones. That is underestimating human ingenuity and free time. If you have thousands of people, decades of time, and a fanatical belief in a god-king, you move mountains. You don't need an alien laser. You need fanaticism and levers. But there are real anomalies that make us scratch our heads. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a huge temple complex with stone pillars weighing tons, carved with animals. The dating? 11 to 12,000 years ago. That's before agriculture, before pottery, before cities. By the classic timeline, we were still simple hunter-gatherers living in small bands. How on earth did a band of nomads organize to build a stone cathedral? And how did they feed the workers? This suggests that civilization is not a linear ladder. Maybe it's cyclical. Maybe we've tried to civilize ourselves several times and failed. Maybe human history is much older and more complex than textbooks show. I'm not talking about Atlantis with flying cars. I'm talking about sophisticated cultures that used wood, leather, materials that rot and leave no trace. Stone is the only thing left. If our civilization ended today, in 10,000 years, what would be left? Plastic, concrete crumbles, iron rusts. Maybe very little would be left to prove we had the internet. There's also the issue of species amnesia. We forget fast. Things that happened 3 generations ago already become legend. Imagine in 10,000 years. The end of the Ice Age, when sea levels rose 120 meters, swallowed all the coastal zones where most humans lived. Entire cities or permanent camps could be underwater now. The truth of our history may be sunk on the continental shelf. What we call history, with a capital H, is only the last 5,000 years. It's a blink of an eye. Before that, there are 295,000 years of prehistory. Do you really think that in those 295,000 years we just sat around hitting stones? It's a long time. It's enough time for oral empires to rise and disappear without leaving a single shard of pottery. It's enough time for Shakespearean dramas to happen in caves. The arrogance of the present is thinking that just because they didn't have an iPhone, they were stupid. They were exactly like us. They had the same brain, the same emotional capacity. They just didn't have the accumulation of technology. So when you look at an ancient ruin, don't think of primitive peoples. Think of people who knew things we've forgotten. They knew how to navigate by the stars. They knew which plants healed and which killed. They knew how to live without destroying the habitat. We gained technology, but lost wisdom. We know how to split the atom, but we don't know how to live in community without anti-anxiety meds. Who is the primitive one after all? And now, has evolution stopped? Some people say yes, that technology has stopped natural selection. Because today, if you're born nearsighted, you wear glasses. If you have diabetes, you take insulin. If you have a narrow pelvis, you have a C-section. In the past, these people would die before having children. Nearsightedness genes would be eliminated. Today, they are passed on. So, technically, we are accumulating bad mutations. We are becoming genetically weaker and dependent on technology. If they pulled the plug on civilization today, 90% of humanity would die in a month. We don't know how to hunt. We don't know how to purify water. We can't stand the cold. We are a greenhouse species. But evolution doesn't stop. It just changes direction. Selection now is no longer who runs from the lion. It's who can handle the stress, who can process information fast, who has resistance to pollution. And there's sexual selection. Who is having children today? In many developed countries, the birth rate is plummeting. The most economically successful people are having fewer children. This is the opposite of what happened in nature. And we are about to take the reins of the process. For the first time in 4 billion years, a species will decide its own evolution. Genetic engineering, CRISPR. We will be able to edit the DNA of embryos, remove diseases, increase intelligence, change eye color, create superhumans. This sounds like science fiction, but it's already knocking on the door, and it creates a terrifying division. What if only the rich can afford the upgrade? Are we going to have a superior biological caste? Homo Deus dominating natural Homo sapiens. Biological evolution is slow. It takes millennia. Technological evolution is instantaneous. We won't wait for nature to give us wings. We'll build wings or alter our code to fly. We are at an inflection point. Maybe we are the last generation of pure humans. Humans born of chance, of the genetic lottery. The next ones could be designed, engineered. Does this kill humanity or elevate it? If we take away all the flaws, all the diseases, all the weaknesses, do we remain human, or do we become meat robots? Evolution has always been blind. It had no plan. Now it has eyes, our eyes, and we don't have the slightest idea where to drive this car. We have the power of gods, but the wisdom of monkeys. This is the most dangerous combination in the universe. To close this conversation, I want you to go back to your hand, the one from the beginning of the video. It is an ancient tool holding new tools. Your brain is a savannah trying to process Twitter. The conflict you feel, the anxiety, the feeling of not belonging, that's not your fault. It's the sound of the gears of evolution grinding. You are an analog animal in a digital world. The truth of our history is not a line of victories. It's a story of survival by a thread, of jury-rigged adaptations, of forgotten massacres, and an explosive creativity that can save us or destroy us. Human evolution is real, brutal, and still happening. You are in it, you are it. 1,000 years from now, if there is someone here to look back, what will they see? Will they see us as the height of civilization? Or as the missing link between the monkey and the machine? Maybe we are just the cocoon, the biological structure necessary to create artificial intelligence, synthetic life, and then be discarded. It hurts to think that way, right? Human ego doesn't like being a supporting character, but maybe there's beauty in that. We are the part of the universe that woke up. We are the stardust that gained consciousness and now tries to understand where it came from. Even with all the flaws, with all the violence, with all the fear, we keep walking. We keep looking at the horizon and asking, what's there? As long as this curiosity exists, evolution continues. The story isn't over. It's just getting faster, stranger, and much more dangerous. I'll see you in the next mystery, and if you want to keep going down with me, you already know where to click.